What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Panda here. Today we are playing some Watcher of Realms. So we have this brand new banner coming to the game with the new hero, but there's also an old hero on this banner that I want to talk about. I think you guys will find this video pretty interesting. So let's dive right into how good is Cerberus? And welcome back, guys. Like I said, today's video is all about Cerberus, the amazing cultist chaotic fighter death guy. I don't know how else to call him, but he is a pretty fantastic unit in the game. He has some really good places that he excels at, and a lot of them give really good rewards. So I really want to quickly just go over his kits. I know he's been in the game for a little while, but I do know I have an audience that is a little newer to the game. And so because of that, I kind of want to go over just the basics of him, and then we'll talk about kind of the places that he does really well. And I know we kind of sort of already went over this just a little bit in the previous video talking about the upcoming banner, but I do want to go over his kit a little bit more specifically and kind of dive into that. So first things first, he is a magic damage dealing fighter. This is important because of one of the areas that he is used is actually in Gear Raid 1, because he does a lot of AoE damage. Because he's magic, he's able to do this damage very, very effectively, and it ends up doing quite a bit in most scenarios. So his talent is Summons Water of Decay at the location of the enemy with the highest HP at the cost of 20% of maximum HP every 14 seconds, inflicting 30% AoE damage every second for 6 seconds. Whenever this hero takes damage, the cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds. This hero cannot be healed or revived by allies, and each death extends the revival time by 30 seconds. So Cerberus is a special champion in the sense that his base revival time is 60 seconds, and he gets an increased revival time of 30 seconds every time he dies. So he has a little bit of a different revive mechanic in that sense. This makes him pair really, really well with the likes of Volca because of the A1 ability, reducing the revival time by 25%. It allows him to get revived quite quickly overall, which I think is really, really cool. It's a nice little interaction. However, something to keep in mind is that I don't think this interaction is really as appealing as it maybe seems, because this does stack up very, very quickly, and odds are you're not going to really be able to get too many deployments from him, is the ultimate kind of idea here. However, if you build him the right way, you may only need 1, possibly 2 deployments with the right setup. So let's go ahead and go into the rest of his skills. His basic, when deployed, immediately deals 200% AoE damage to surrounding enemies and then creates Water of Decay beneath the hero's feet, dealing 50% AoE damage to multiple enemies per second, and the effect lasts permanently. So he just has a range around him that deals 50% AoE damage every second. Very, very good for sustained AoE damage, which is what you're looking for in some of the game modes he excels in, right? Which is why he excels there, because we're talking Gear Raid 1 where there's a lot of enemies, there's healing involved, and so there's a good chance they're going to survive for a good amount of time. But he also excels in other game modes such as the Immortal Codex Conqueror, where there's just waves and waves and waves and waves of a ton of enemies. And so because of that, he does really, really well in that game mode. In fact, he may be one of the best, if not the best champion for the Conqueror Codex boss. Then we have his first passive here, Water of Decay. This is the talent and the basic, right? Water of Decay is upon death, generates a ground effect aura underneath, dealing 140% AoE damage per second for 20 seconds. So not only does he do Water of Decay with his talent, he does Water of Decay with his basic, and he also does Water of Decay with a passive. Now, these are all 3 different versions of Water of Decay, right? Because this does 140% AoE damage, this does 50, and then this does 30% AoE damage, right? So it's a little bit different each time. The death one is the highest damage, which makes sense because of the fact that you're paying the ultimate cost, right? You're losing the champion, you're losing the 80% AoE damage from the talent and the basic, and you're gaining 140% for 20 seconds. Kind of the important part there. Then we have his next passive, which is reduces the hero's first deployment cost by 9. Upon his first death, reduces the next deployment cost of every allied mage by 1. This is nice. I mean, the starting, at least the first deployment cost is nice because it allows you to get him on the board quickly, especially when you're using him in places such as the AoE arena. It's really nice to be able to drop him very quickly to start getting that damage rolling. However, the cost reduction really isn't as good as I think it should be, personally, because a lot of the times, by the time he dies, cost isn't a problem, right? Odds are you have your whole team on the board already, and if not, you aren't planning on placing your whole team. So this passive is nothing too exciting in my personal opinion. I do like the first portion of reducing the deployment cost because he does have a deployment cost of 17, and with that additional reduction of 9, that does drop him down to only an 8 cost, which is pretty good, especially when you add in the arena cost reduction of reducing his cost by 2. That means that in the arena, he only costs 6 for that first deployment, which is very, very powerful. You can get him on the board like that. It's very good. So those are his basic skills. Let's talk about the ultimate, and then we'll move over into Awakening. So the ultimate is Spectre Binded. It's a 900 cost, 500 starting, and a 20-second duration. During the ultimate, he increases his damage by 100%, and additionally, each instance of damage dealt will inflict 50% slow on the target for 20 seconds. This is really good because of the fact that he's dealing that AoE damage as long as the enemies are within his range, which is right around him. However, you can also only block so much, which means that at some points they're going to walk through him. And when that happens, they're going to be slowed, which means you're going to take that damage more and more over time. I personally think that this is the reason why he does really, really well in the Immortal Codex, because you can set him in that front row and he's going to slow every enemy as they walk through, making it so that they have longer time of being damaged before they actually get to the gate to start dealing damage to the gate. That's kind of like my personal thought process on that. That may not necessarily be the case, but that's what it feels like to me personally. So, if you haven't been able to tell, Cerberus is a ginormous AoE damage dealer, specifically magic damage, so he's going to excel in those places like I spoke about of Gear Raid 1 in particular, but he also does really well in Immortal Codex Conqueror and the AoE Arena because he just does a massive amount of AoE damage. Let's talk quickly about his Awakens, and then we'll go over kind of how to build him and maybe show a run or two that I use him in. So his A1 is within 10 seconds of deployment, all ground effect areas will slow enemies in range. So this is nice because it basically makes his ultimate almost up 100% of the time, right? Because he gets that slow. This isn't game breaking. I don't think it's really insane, but it is really good in my opinion. I think it's very good in certain places, specifically the Immortal Codex, like I said, because it will slow the enemies down because there's no way you can block them all. And so they're gonna walk through him, and being able to slow him is very, very good. His A2 gives 5% attack. This is awesome. We love that. His A3, when HP drops below 50%, double the damage dealt by the ground effect area per second. And the way that I understand this, leave a comment down below if if this is not how this works. I know there's some people out there that know the game way better than I do, but the way I understand this is that any ground effect area that he deals damage with is going to get an increase in damage. So that would be both his passive talent ability as well as his basic. I would also assume that this would work for the on death passive, but I'm not 100% positive if that is necessarily the case, because when he dies, I don't know if it would stick around. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think, if you have any experience with this in particular. I've never really paid super close attention, and also, of course, I don't have him at A3, so I can't actually test, the damage itself. A4 is 8% crit rate. This is nothing super crazy, but it just allows you to be a little more stat focused into damage stats such as crit damage, attack speed, flat attack, whatever the case may be. Then we have this A5, which is reducing the cooldown of the talent effect by 3 seconds and the HP consumption by 5% max HP. This is actually really, really good. If we go and we look at the talent one more time, this does this 20% max HP gets dropped to 15%. That is a 25% reduction, which is insane. It is a very large chunk of the HP that you are saving, which means you can effectively do this ability 25% more before you run out of HP, right? Like that's kind of the ultimate idea. But it also does it every 14 seconds. And when you have this down, it goes every 12 seconds. I'm sorry, every 11 seconds. My apologies. Every 11 seconds, which is really, really good because you also have whenever the hero takes damage, the cooldown is reduced by 2. So this was at 14 seconds, meaning you needed to get hit 7 times in order to proc this initially, maybe 6 times because you're going to have time, go off during that time frame. But if you drop this down to 11 seconds, you're looking at maybe needing to get hit 3 to 5 times max, which is a pretty decent chunk of time saved. That on top of the fact that you're reducing the max HP cost by 5%, you're actually going to get a lot of extra damage out from this champion once you have the A5. Now, of course, I know this is an A5 champion, very difficult to get in the legendary status without spending a lot or being around for a very long time. The highest I have, I think, is an A2, not including Volca. Do I have an A3? I don't think I have an A3. Yeah, A2 Kineza and Aurum. I don't have A2 Allura, but yeah, no A3s at all on my account. So definitely really difficult to get to because not only have I been playing for a decent amount of time, I think I just hit 150 days, but also I get content creator diamonds. So I actually play kind of like a sort of dolphin, right? Because I have that extra income coming into the game. So definitely hard to get A3s, even A5s. So definitely don't be super surprised if you're not able to get this. But if you wanted to try and push for it on the banner that's coming up, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea because this A5 is very powerful. Especially if you're struggling in Immortal Codex and or if you're not struggling, but you really want to try to push for that top 100 maybe, it could be a very good investment if that's your goal. So, quickly, let's talk about what skills on him you want to max and where you can effectively stop. I think the obvious thing is you 100% want the ultimate max. This is the case for everybody. His basic, I think you do want his basic maxed because even though it's only 50% AoE damage, it's to multiple people, and you can also get the increase of, where is it? I think it's is it in the Awaken? Yeah, you can get the increase to all ground effect areas at A3. And so because of that, this basic actually becomes pretty good. It ends up dealing, quite a bit more damage, which is very good. Also, of course, Water of Decay is his main damage dealing ability. It's the main thing that he does. You 100% want to have this maxed. Now, in terms of Evil Anointing, personally, I would not waste anything on this skill if you can avoid it. I don't think that the deployment cost is that major. However, if you do get, say, 1 or 2 and you max everything else out, I would just stop when you have Evil Anointing as your last thing to skill up. As you can see here, I did not get the last cost reduction for allied mages because it's just not important, right? It's not important. If this was, instead of upon his first death, if this was upon his first deployment, then I would think about it, because at that point, then it maybe makes more sense, because you're able to, in arenas specifically, right, you'd be able to play this guy for 6, and then you'd be able to play someone like a Hatsut for 10, right? So you could get 16, which is the cost of, I think a Boreas is 16, is that right? Where's the cost? Oh yeah, Boreas is 19. So for less than a Boreas, you could get a Cerberus and a Hatsut, which would be really good. However, this is on his first death, which realistically doesn't make any sense. I would love to see a small change here of, upon his first deployment, he reduces the next deployment cost of every allied mage. that would be interesting. But ultimately, I think you can skip Evil Anointing. You don't really need to get it. That's my personal opinion. Now, in terms of how to build him, there's a couple ways to build him. He is a DPS. You want him to deal damage, which means you're focused on a couple different things. You're focused on attack, you're focused on crit rate, you're focused on crit damage. Those are probably the three most important. I do think that attack speed is good because, you know, this does deal damage per second. And as far as I am aware, it does go based off of your attack interval. However, I am more focused on flat attack, crit rate, and crit damage. There is some room to say that both HP and defense have some value because he is a melee fighter. He does use his HP as a resource. However, the HP he uses is percent based. And so because of that, I don't really think it's great to put a ton of effort into HP, because the more HP he has, the more HP he's going to spend. So ultimately, if you want to build some defensive capabilities on here, I highly recommend defense. But ideally, your goal here is just damage. Attack speed, crit rate, crit damage, and rage regen, right? As far as sets go, any DPS set is going to be great. I currently use an Insight set on him. When I am pushing specifically in to, you know, things like Codex and stuff, I sometimes will use a curse set. I will use this Vierna's curse set. It gives him, you know, extra damage because he can get this fully stacked, you know, which gives a good chunk of damage. But sometimes I will also put him in my Hexes set in order to get the Soulbound Arcana. This is a set that you definitely will want to use in Codex once you get a maxed artifact for him, which the artifact he wants to use is the Lunacy Visor, which in fact, let me go ahead and max this one out here. I don't think I have another one yet. Sadly, I don't have another one, but you do want to max a Lunacy Visor. The reason you want to max a Lunacy Visor is because this artifact, right, it increases his block by 1, which is okay, nothing crazy. The important thing is that it additionally, the wearer restores HP equal to 1.1% of max HP each time they deal damage to one target, stacking up to 3 times. So basically what this does is you damage 3 targets, you gain 3.3% max HP every time you deal damage. This is very, very good because, again, remember, we are spending HP to deal damage. We're spending 20% of our max HP to deal damage every second for 6 seconds. So let's assume that we are dealing damage every second to 3 targets for that 6-second time frame. Well, what does that mean? That means that we are hitting 18 times. Well, 18 times the 3.3% of HP. We'll do that math real quickly here. That's a lot, right? It's 59.4% max HP. So he is able to keep himself alive if you have a decently built up Lunacy Visor, and you're able to deal damage consistently to these enemies. So, like I said, let's quickly show him in one of the game modes that he can do really well in, and that's going to be Gear Raid 1. Let's just show it on 19. I'll go ahead and turn Power of Dominance off for you guys just so that you can see. Here is my Cerberus, and in fact, let's go ahead and give him that Hex Gear because I do want to show you kind of what he's actually capable of. So let's dive in real quickly, and then we'll go ahead and end the video here. So we're going to drop him very quickly. I do want to go ahead and get out my anti-heal, so we will place Boreas down. And then we will go ahead and we will place our boy Cerberus down right here. And we'll just let him start going, right? We'll let him start going. We'll go ahead and drop this here. And we're really kind of just going to let him do his thing. I don't really think there's anything super crazy. I'm going to drop Dolores here because I want him to, you know, be able to... Wow, he died so quickly. But see, look at the damage that he's dealing, though, right? That's a ton of damage that he's getting out there. Very good damage on him, which is really, really good, you know, for overall things. We'll go ahead and place our Mari down just to get some slow coming out. All right. We'll go ahead and pop our Boreas just to keep things interesting, right? So we're going to get our Cerberus back up. We'll be able to place him one more time here. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and hold off on placing him because there's no need to place him right now. We're going to wait until after these 5 guys or 6 guys die because I don't want Cerberus to die right away. I want to use him in the last zone. All right, so here we go. So we're on to the last set of guys. They're about to start coming in. Let's go ahead and... actually, let's wait. Let's wait just a little longer because... I want to see what we can do. Okay, let's drop him now. He's going to deal some damage. We go ahead and pop this. Yep, there he goes. He's down. And we're going to get tons of damage from him and his passive there dropping onto the ground, right? So again, this was a lower level stage. So of course, you know, it is going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to drop Alistair here just to deal damage to the boss with that true damage. Try and clean things up a little quicker here. All right, here we go. Dying pretty quickly. Get him out the way. All right, pop all of these down there. All right, boss should die here in a second. They'll be able to see what kind of damage he was able to do. The Soulbound Arcana actually ended up not really doing much for us there. He actually died a lot faster than I was expecting. I haven't used Cerberus in Gear Raid 1 because I had it cleared prior, you know, to me getting Cerberus for the first time. So nothing super crazy there. But let's take a look at the damage he was able to do. If you look at that, he did 28 million damage, and he wasn't on the board more than twice, and that was basically all from his passive, right? So he does a ton of damage. I unfortunately missed the window to show you what he's capable in the Immortal Codex. However, we have done videos on the Immortal Codex, and I think we can still access the rankings for the Immortal Codex if we come over here. And you can see exactly, this is what mine was able to accomplish, 63 million. And we have others that are dealing even more. If we come here, you'll see, look at that, 865 million damage from their Cerberus with a ton of healing. Mine does not heal nearly as much, so he dies a lot faster because I'm missing out on some of that stuff, right? I'm missing out on the HP reduction, but you're getting a ton of damage out of Cerberus in the Conqueror. He does really well there. Speaking of which, if you haven't done so already, make sure you collect your rewards for the Arbiter of Frost event. I'm going to go ahead and pick up this Ancient Summoning Crystal here, and I'll go ahead and buy both of these. Just get them out the way. Get it done with. I don't really care about the rest of the stuff. So overall though, let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about Cerberus. Are you going to be pulling for him? And if so, why? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, guys, remember, we are making a huge push for 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We have gotten quite a few subscribers in the last few days. We are almost up to 2,350, which is really exciting. We're only 150 away from that halfway mark, and I'd really like to hit that as soon as possible. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button to let me know you liked this video. That's it for me today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.